Peace, blessings, much respect, much love. It's your boy, the Ghetto Guru, aka Shango, coming back with another spiritual message. Hope all is well with everybody. Hope everything's going great with your day. And if not, I hope the rest of your day get better. But I got a message and I'm going to get right into it. So the title for this video is going to be Sometimes You Have to Cry to Make Sure That You're Still Human. Sometimes you have to cry to make sure that you're still human. And I got this word a while ago, probably a couple months ago, but I just always was sitting on it for some reason. But now I got the word that it's the right time to put this message out. So as always, I'll get into that in the video exactly why, I got this message and why God, the universe, and ancestors gave me this message. So, but just like the title says, sometimes you gotta, in this era, you gotta, let me say that it's hard sometimes when it comes to, or I gotta hold the tripod to win. Sometimes it's hard when it comes to like emotions, vulnerability, being open about, what you're going through, what you're experiencing, just when it comes to venting to people about things, because, they make it seem like that's soft, especially when it comes to men. They make it seem like that's soft, that's something feminine, shouldn't be in your emotions, that's something that women only deal with, and that's not true. Unfortunately, I got the tears going on with the wind going on, got the allergies, my eyes. But anyway, but that's not true, When it comes to men, we should be able to express our feelings. Everybody should be able to express their feelings, not just men, but mainly in society, they always get on men when it comes to that about being in their emotions or sounding too feminine or just sounding too soft. And that's where a lot of the issues come with. It comes with a lot of men that we see in society being open with their feelings, being vulnerable with what they're going through or what they're experiencing in their mental. Not just in the outer world, but what's going on inside of themselves. So a lot of this comes from, if anybody's from like urban communities, the hood, and you already know how much stigmas get put on you when you're growing up in the hood and growing up in urban communities, that you got to be tough, you can't show no weakness, you can't be soft, can't be outside crying, you got to pick yourself up. If you fall off your bike, you can't be on the floor complaining, you just got to dust it off, dust the licks off and just get right back on the bike, act like nothing happened. We lose people we know that got killed and died. We just get desensitized after a while because it started happening so much that we don't even take the time to process it, and we just incorporate that as part of everyday life. Like, oh yeah, that happens, it's crazy, but it's the norm now. So when that happens, especially when you're growing up in that type of environment, you don't really get to process your feelings. You don't really get to process your emotions in a healthy way, because everybody in the environment is telling you that you shouldn't be processing your emotions, you shouldn't be showing tears, you shouldn't be showing any type of emotion because that's weakness. And this, like I said, this is where a lot of the disconnect happens, when people get disconnected with themselves and they start becoming a shell of themselves or start coming robotic. And that's why I said sometimes you got to make sure that you got to let yourself cry rather to show that you're still human, because the world teaches you that emotions is not a good thing. Being in emotions is not a good thing. So that creates people that don't have vulnerability, that creates people that don't have any accountability on how they do things that will affect others, and it just doesn't have any consideration for life when you say that, because that's why you see school shootings, that's why you see people, like we had the incident, that's why you see the guy that, thank God they caught him and he's going to jail now, that's why you see incidents like the guy stabbing the twin girls. That's why you see stuff like that in the world, because people are getting out of touch with their emotions, and not when you're out of touch with your emotions, you don't think about life, you don't care about the next life, you ain't thinking about nobody else's feelings, you ain't thinking about morality, you ain't thinking about values, you ain't thinking about principles, you're just thinking about you and how things work for you and how things affect you. You don't care about nothing else, and that's dangerous. That's why I bring up those two examples, because that's where we at in society, and there's plenty of other things that have happened. That's why you see the violence, everything, because of that, because the world is teaching you to detach from your emotions, and you become an emotionless human, which basically makes you robotic, because now you're not processing anything emotionally. You're not mentally taking in situations, processing and thinking or critically thinking of how you can have a better solution in this problem, or how you can avoid certain situations, or how you can get out of certain situations, or even how to just process, like the title of the video, just what you're going through emotionally. A lot of us been through a lot of trauma. A lot of us been through a lot of crazy things, and we still going through crazy things because it's life. Life happens. Everything is not going to always be a positive experience on the journey. It's going to be positive. It's going to be negative. It's going to be ups and downs, all that. But that's what makes it a journey. It's always going to be ups and downs, all that stuff. It's part of life. It's part of being a human being. But this is why you have to check in with yourself emotionally to make sure that you still being a human being, and not making yourself robotic or acting like you just this emotionless superhuman that don't get affected by nothing. Because that's another thing. Thank you. See, now it's flowing. That's another problem. Everybody's always like, oh, my cutoff game's strong. I don't care about nobody. I don't got no friends. Like, everybody celebrates that. And that's not nothing to be celebrated. Like, why are we acting like that? That's not nothing to be like, yeah, I ain't got no friends. I don't care when I cut somebody off. All this BS. And that's creating you into an emotionless human. Because everybody wants to connect with somebody. Thank you. Everybody wants to connect with people. Everybody wants to have a tribe. So that's where we got to a society where we started cutting off emotionally how we feel and how we think and how things affect us, to the point we just celebrating things like that. Like, oh yeah, I ain't got no friends, or I'm by myself, or I don't trust nobody. Like, all these things that were never good things. There was a time where people actually wanted to trust people. There was a time that people actually wanted to be around people, that actually want to make friends, because you're a human being. Emotionally, you want to connect with a human. Now you could being robotic. You don't want to connect to nobody. Now you're being robotic. You just with you all day. It's a good thing sometimes to go into hibernation and get your solitude and stuff to get your mental, your physical, and your spiritual right, but not your whole life. You're a human. That's why you're here. That's why it's other humans. You're meant to interact. And that's why we got emotions. So especially when it comes to things that affect you. Like, I had to learn that the hard way this past year and a half, like I told you in the last video, when all that stuff happened with my moms and my father in the hospital. For a minute, especially me, for those that sent to astrology, I'm a Capricorn, that's a problem for us. Emotions. All day I gotta be tough, all day gotta go get it, all day, all this, all that, and never taking the time to actually sit down and process what happened in life, or what I went through, like actually processing everything that happened a year and a half. I cried a lot than I ever did in my life the past year and a half, because I couldn't do the robotic thing no more. I couldn't just act like just go, act like everything is all good. Everything in my mental is going crazy because everything in life is going crazy. But I'm just going outside like, oh, I can't show any emotion, I can't be soft, can't. No. After a while, the toughness couldn't last that long. After a while, I had to be soft. I had to be vulnerable. I had to let the tears out. I had to talk to God and really be honest and find out what the hell was going on. Why was all this happening? I needed to understand the lesson, because it wasn't just happening for no reason. And those sirens is confirmation. Because, yeah, that's confirmation, because it was that serious. Like, it showed me a lot. It beat me down to weakness to build me back up into a stronger person, into the version I'm supposed to be. And it's the same thing for y'all. That's why I'm telling you the message. That's why I had to go through all that. I had to cry my ass off. Excuse my language. I had to cry my ass off a year and a half. There was mad stuff going on mentally with me, emotionally. When I was going through all that with my parents, and still dealing with everything else with my pops, trying to get them out, like I told y'all, out there, whole nursing home thing to bring home. There was a whole lot going on. And I had to process that, I had to go through all that stuff, and I had my own personal things I had to deal with. There was a lot going on. But guess what? It made me feel so much better when I started letting it out. It made me start realizing so much things emotionally, and it calmed me down, believe it or not. It sounds crazy, but letting all that out, going through that, being vulnerable like that, I don't know the last time I really got mad. Around that period, I was heated, mad, arguing with doctors, going crazy back and forth. My own personal stuff was going crazy. My whole life, everything was going crazy. And I was just mad, angry, dirty, trying to figure out everything, why my life was going like that. Now, since I learned how to let it out and cope and understand and critically think and be patient and process things, I'm so much calmer. I understand things so much more. I don't get mad at things easily. Something might annoy me, but it's the difference between being annoyed and being heated, like pissed. I used to be pissed when all that stuff was happening. Now I can process things better. Now I don't get emotionally ticked off. Now I can process my own emotional things of traumas that I went through and handle it and process it and see it as a blessing. Like, okay, those things at the time, it wasn't good, but it helped me into the person I'm supposed to be today. And that's why I'm on the camera doing the things like this now. I wouldn't have had the confidence doing this before like this. I was doing it, but it's a different energy, and it's a difference in my voice and the way I'm telling the message versus before. Same way, like I said, when we younger, I know dudes that used to cry when we was younger, dudes I used to hang out with be like, oh, yo, he crying, yo, he bugging, laughing. Because that's what we get taught to do. To down you, make you emotional, be like, oh, you crying, you soft. Laugh at you, oh, you crying, you soft. Oh, you cry, baby, all that stuff. That's teaching you, oh, emotions just ain't no good. So by the time you're a grown person, you can't emotionally process stuff when you're in a relationship. You can't process stuff when it go wrong in a conversation because you detached from that as a human. That's why we have to make sure you're still doing that. You're still crying. You're still letting the emotions out. Something affect you. There's different type of cries. Thank you, God. You got your angry cries where you get so mad when you just want to fight somebody. You just start crying because you're that angry. You got your other cries when you just emotionally crying because you're venting and you're talking about something to somebody, and you might be regular in the conversation, and then when it start hitting you, you just start crying. The voice I'm talking about, the voice start cracking and all that. That's that emotional crying. It's crying where you just chilling, everything's good. You could be listening to music. Somebody say a lyric in a song, it trigger you, reminds you of a traumatic thing. Now you're crying. It's all different types of cries. It's all different type of crying emotions. You could pick whichever one you want to. Whatever one you want to do. You don't even have to cry in front of nobody. You could do that by yourself. But you gotta let it out. Because if not, you're gonna end up hurting yourself. You're gonna end up hurting somebody. Or you're just gonna end up doing something that you're gonna regret because you're not emotionally processing, or you're not emotionally letting out all that anger or all that stuff that you're holding in. And then people be holding stuff in for years. Thank you, God. Made me remember this before I forget this. I was watching Benzino interview on Drink Champs, and by the end of the interview, he was crying. But he was saying real stuff while he was crying because he was holding all that stuff in from 20 years ago with everything that was happening with him and the way everybody treating him now. He had to let it out and be honest. And then he said he's not ashamed of crying because he learned that it helps him crying. He learned that through the past years as a grown man. It helps him because, like he said, it keeps him from hurting somebody or hurting himself. And then after he cries, he feels good. And then actually, he just starts thinking about other things in a different way, because you can now letting all that clouded judgment, which is the anger, the resentment, the envy, the hatred, whatever other words that you want to feel that takes and clouds your mind from seeing things for what it is, or processing emotions the way you should be processing it in a certain situation, or just with your own traumatic situations. So we got to remember that. You guys, if you're feeling emotions because you're going through things, something happened in your life, or it's just, it don't even got to be enough to happen. It could be something that happened 5 years ago. Like I said, you could be listening to a song and they say something that trigger you. You went from happy to crying. That's all right. You're a human being. We gotta stop making it seem like we just these robots. We don't have emotions. Oh, it's cool. My cutoff game is strong. I don't got no friends. Like, this is celebrations. Like, yo, that's making you into an emotionless shell of a person. Because how you connected with people if you just always by yourself? Like I said, it's nothing wrong with solitude. There's nothing wrong with spending alone time. But at the same time, you got to make sure that you're not just doing it as a badge of honor. Just to say, I don't need nobody. Because we all need somebody. It sounds great to say, I don't trust nobody. Oh, don't never trust nobody. We all got people. We all got places and things that we still either buy, use, or people that we still be around and go to places with and do things with, even if it's here and there. So we trust people to a certain extent. So that's just what I'm saying. It sounds good in this era to say all that. I don't need nobody. I cutoff game strong and all that. But at the end of the day, you got to pay attention to how that's making you into an emotionless human being. Because if you're always doing that by yourself, you ain't never connecting to nobody, you ain't never processing emotions, you're not ever seeing anything from anybody else's viewpoint, and that's going to make you into a robotic human being. So that's the message. Peace and blessings. Like always, I love y'all. Keep doing your thing. Stay goal-oriented. Like I always say, whether we run, Whether we jog, whether we sprint, or crawl, because life is that hard sometimes. You can't run, you can't jog, you can't sprint. Only thing you can do is crawl to your destination. But like I always say, somehow, some way, we got to make it to our destination someday. So peace, blessings, much respect, much love. I love y'all. Until the next topic, peace.